There's a road in Boston that has become famous for eating trucks, not metaphorically. Every year, moving vans, box trucks, delivery trucks, buses, and confused out-of-town drivers enter Storrow Drive and immediately discover that Boston's bridges do not care about their U-Haul reservation. This is Storrow Drive, the scenic river road that turns trucks into convertibles. And today, we are putting it on trial. The charges? Luring rental trucks into danger, having clearance signs that apparently become invisible during move-in week, creating one of the funniest infrastructure problems in America, and somehow becoming a local Boston tradition where the city does not ask if a truck will get destroyed, but when. So first, what actually is Storrow Drive? Storrow Drive is a parkway that runs along the Charles River in Boston. For normal cars, it is honestly kind of beautiful. You get river views, skyline views, trees, bridges, runners, rowers, and just enough Boston traffic to remind you that peace was never an option. It is one of those roads that looks great in a tourism video and feels like a trap when your GPS says, turn right. But Storrow Drive was not designed for trucks. It was built as a low-clearance urban parkway. That means it works for regular passenger cars, but absolutely not for box trucks, moving vans, buses, delivery trucks, or anything tall enough to have self-esteem. And that is where the chaos begins. Because on a map, Storrow Drive looks useful. It runs through central Boston. It follows the river. It connects major areas. It looks like exactly the kind of road your GPS would recommend when you are trying to save 6 minutes and avoid one of Boston's other roads that looks like it was designed during a bar fight. But Storrow Drive has a secret. The bridges are low. Very low. Low enough that if you are driving a rented moving truck full of dorm furniture, IKEA shelves, emotional damage, and one mattress that should have been thrown away years ago, you are about to have a terrible day. And in Boston, this happens so often that they gave it a name, getting Storrowed. That is when a truck hits a low bridge on or near Storrow Drive and loses the top of its box, like someone opened a can of Infrastructure tuna. Most cities have traffic accidents. Boston has a recurring seasonal truck sacrifice. And the craziest part is that this is not some hidden trap in the woods. It is not like the city forgot to put up a warning and drivers are being ambushed by a surprise bridge. There are signs. There are warnings. There are height restrictions. There are usually several chances for a driver to realize, maybe my giant moving truck should not be here. But every year, especially around college move-in season, someone looks at those signs and says, nah, I got this. They do not got this. The problem is not that the warnings do not exist. The problem is that a stressed college dad in a rented box truck does not become literate until after impact. And that is what makes Storrow Drive so funny and so painful at the same time, because this road is not necessarily failing at its job. For cars, it does what it was built to do. It moves traffic along the Charles River. It gives drivers access across Boston. It is scenic, fast, and useful. But for trucks, Storrow Drive is basically a final exam in reading comprehension. And every September, Boston grades on impact. So why does this keep happening? Part of it is Boston itself. Boston is one of those cities where the street grid looks like it was designed by a colonial-era goat trying to escape a thunderstorm. The roads curve, they split, they merge, they change names, they disappear, they reappear, and somehow, every turn is both the correct turn and a terrible mistake. In many American cities, streets are laid out in neat grids. You know, north, south, east, west. Very normal, very calm, very humans planned this after breakfast. Boston is different. Boston's streets feel like they were created by people who were already late, angry, and trying to avoid a pond that no longer exists. So when an out-of-town driver enters Boston, they are already confused. Now add college move-in stress. Add a rented truck they are not used to driving. Add a passenger yelling directions. Add a GPS that sounds confident but is not personally paying for the damage. And then add low bridges. Suddenly, you have the perfect recipe for getting Storrowed. The GPS part matters a lot. Modern navigation apps are amazing, but they are usually designed around regular cars. They can calculate traffic, predict arrival times, avoid tolls, and reroute you around accidents. But they do not always understand that your vehicle is 12 feet tall, full of furniture, and emotionally unstable. To a normal GPS, Storrow Drive might look like a great shortcut. To your moving truck, it is a roof removal service. And that is the real infrastructure lesson here. Not all roads are for all vehicles. Some roads are highways. Some roads are local streets. Some roads are scenic parkways, and some roads are height-restricted obstacle courses with a river view. Storrow Drive belongs to that last category. That is part of why this road is so interesting. It is not just a funny Boston meme. It is a collision between old infrastructure and modern behavior. Parkways were often built with a specific idea in mind. They were supposed to be attractive roads for passenger cars, not freight corridors. They were often designed with curves, trees, river views, limited access, and bridges that fit the vehicles of their time and purpose. The problem is that modern cities do not always respect those original intentions. Today, cities are full of delivery trucks, moving trucks, rental vans, rideshare drivers, tourists, buses, online shopping deliveries, college students, construction vehicles, and people blindly following a blue line on a phone screen like it was handed down from Mount Sinai. Storrow Drive was not built for all of that. It was built for cars. But modern life keeps trying to shove everything onto every road, and the bridges say no. Very clearly, usually with a crunch. Now, to be fair, the drivers are not innocent here. If you rent a truck, you are supposed to know the height of the vehicle. That is part of the deal. It is usually printed somewhere inside the cab. It may be on the paperwork. It might even be visible enough that ignoring it requires a real commitment to optimism. And when you see signs saying low clearance, no trucks, restricted road, or height limit, that is not decoration. That is not Boston trying to add local flavor. That is the road trying to save your security deposit. But human beings are not always at their best during a move. Moving is chaos. You are tired. You are sweaty. You are carrying a couch that suddenly feels heavier because someone said, "Just pivot," 11 times. You have a deadline. You have a lease starting. You have roommates calling. Your phone battery is dying. You have a truck full of everything you own. And now Boston is asking you to decode a road network that looks like spaghetti got into Harvard. That is when mistakes happen. And on Storrow Drive, mistakes are measured in truck roofs. The funniest part is how predictable it has become. Locals know it is coming. Every year, when college students return and moving trucks flood the city, Boston collectively braces for impact. It is like a weather season. Spring has rain, winter has snow, fall has storrowing. Summer ends, students arrive, rental trucks appear, and somewhere in Boston, a low bridge starts stretching like it is about to go to work. It has become part of the city's identity. There are places where people watch for it. Local media reports on it. Social media jokes about it. People share pictures. The phrase "Storrowed" has become so normal that Boston basically turned truck destruction into a vocabulary word. That is when you know infrastructure has achieved meme status. A normal road gets traffic reports. Storrow Drive gets lore. But underneath the jokes, there is a serious question. Who is actually guilty? Is it the driver? Yes. If the sign says no trucks and you are in a truck, the legal analysis is not exactly complicated. Is it GPS? Also yes. Navigation apps have made driving easier, but they have also made people more passive. Instead of reading the city, people obey the phone. And when the phone does not know your truck height, that confidence becomes dangerous. Is it Boston? Very yes. Boston's road network already feels like psychological warfare. Even before you add low bridges, the city is confusing enough to make a calm person start bargaining with the universe. But is Storrow Drive itself guilty? That is where it gets complicated. Because Storrow Drive is not bad at being Storrow Drive. For cars, it mostly works. It carries traffic. It follows a beautiful route. It connects important areas. It is restricted for a reason. It warns drivers. The problem is that people keep trying to use it for something it was never designed to handle. That is like blaming a bicycle lane because someone tried to land a helicopter in it. Still, from the outside, it looks insane. A truck enters. A bridge waits. The driver realizes too late that hope is not a measurement. Then the roof peels back, traffic stops, someone records it, local news gets content, and somewhere, an apartment full of college furniture is now exposed to the sky. And this is why Storrow Drive is such a perfect infrastructure story. It is simple. It is visual, it is funny, and it teaches a real lesson without needing a civil engineering degree. You can explain induced demand, highway geometry, clearance restrictions, parkway design, urban freight movement, GPS routing failures, and driver behavior. Or you can just show a box truck wedged under a bridge and everyone instantly understands. Storrow Drive is one of the rare pieces of infrastructure that works exactly as intended and still creates chaos every year. It is not America's biggest highway mistake. It is not the most dangerous road. It is not even really broken. But it might be the funniest road in the country, because while most roads move trucks, Storrow Drive eats them.